Have you ever looked at your teen's math mark and thought, okay, they're passing, but I still don't feel great about this? That feeling is usually there for a reason. Because a lot of math problems show up as habits long before they show up in the grade. And most of us parents don't realize there's a real problem until we see the report card marks or a few tests have gone by. And then all of a sudden the stress gets bigger and grade 12 math feels a lot heavier. So right now in this video, I'm gonna walk you through my 5 signs that I use on students to identify if they are actually building the habits they need to thrive in grade 12 math. And I'll also share with you how to look at those signs through my 3-step learning system so you can pinpoint exactly where your child might be getting stuck. Hi, I'm Danielle. I'm an Ontario high school math teacher, and here on this channel, I like to make all things math a lot easier so students can get the grades they deserve. So feel free to hit subscribe down below, and this way you'll be up to date when we release new videos. So to help us check if your child is on track, I created a free parent checklist that I can walk you through and actually highlight what to look for to see where your child is at. You can grab it down below in the link. Follow along with me as we go. Now, I first want to start by telling you what I tell all my students, no matter what grade they're in. As they enter into high school, grade 9 and 10 are considered the training years. We're trying to close any gaps from middle school, and we are trying to build them up to learning math in a way that is expected at the high school level. Once they hit grade 11, there's a jump in curriculum here in Ontario and a jump in content. Overall, their schedule just gets heavier. And so we like to look at grade 11 as their prep or practice year, where they have to prove that they're ready for the grade 12 courses that they want to take. And then by the time they hit grade 12, ideally, they've had the last 3 years to not only up their level mathematically, but also their learning skills and their habits, so that way they're prepared for the material that's waiting for them in grade 12. Plus, by having those foundations strong and steady in grade 12, students will find it a lot easier to deal with the pressures of that year, plus get the grades they want without jeopardizing any applications to post-secondary school. Okay, here's the simple lens that I look through when trying to identify where students are struggling. Usually the problem lies in one of these 3 layers. Our Zen 3-step learning system consists of layer 1, the content phase, so the delivery and digestion of the lesson. Layer 2, the homework layer, where they're drilling it out and applying what they've learned. And step 3, the testing phase or layer, where they are performing and showing their understanding. So as we go through these 5 checkpoints, we are going to be able to trace back if their disconnect is happening in understanding the lesson, in practicing it properly, or in performing with consistency and stamina so they can get the marks on the test. So as we go through these 5 signs, keep asking yourself, does this tie back to layer 1, the lesson understanding piece, layer 2, the homework drilling it out piece, or layer 3, the testing it out and being ready for evaluation day piece? That's how you can stop guessing and start seeing the real issues. So let's dive into these 5 signs together and start piecing together where your child might be getting stuck. Okay, sign 1, they can't explain an example from their lesson. Typically in the high school classroom, a teacher will deliver a lesson and a student copies that lesson. But a lot of times, students miss the opportunity to fully digest what was just presented to them. We're lucky if we capture 60% of the lesson when we first heard it. So even though a student might have their notes copied neatly down in their binder and it looks completely full and everything looks fine, the problem is copied doesn't mean understood. So here's what I want you to do. Ask your child to open up their notebook, show you the lesson, and just walk through teaching it back to you. You can stop at any one example and ask them, hey, can you explain this back to me? You're not looking for perfection. You just want to see if they can walk through it with some sort of confidence. A strong sign is if the student has copied the lesson, it's organized enough to follow, and they can explain it back to you. A warning sign is the notes aren't even fully copied. Some students will just watch and not copy. And then, of course, the piece where they can't explain it back to you. That usually points to a problem sitting in the first layer of our learning system. Because if that lesson doesn't really land, everything else is going to fall apart. Okay, sign number 2. Homework feels really tough right at the get-go. Now, to be fair, homework is supposed to gradually get tougher as you move through the question. But if the student is getting stuck in the first 1/3 of the question set, that highlights they're going to really struggle with the other 2/3 of the homework. Totally fine. It's not a great sign. And usually it can be rectified if they start understanding the lesson better. But at the beginning of any homework, the students should feel like this is just repetition from the lesson and practicing what they need to know. If they're getting stuck towards the end of the homework, that's okay. It's expected. That's the part where they're trying to apply what they've learned. So a strong sign is they start comfortably and can get moving along on their own. A warning sign is that they get stuck in the first third of the homework. All right, sign number 3. Homework mistakes aren't being corrected. The high school level, we only have usually 75 to 85 minutes with our students, and there's never enough time to check every student's homework on the daily. So students are supposed to advocate for themselves when they don't understand yesterday's homework and fill in the blanks. Now, a lot of time when I circulate and I look, there will be questions that have been left blank or questions that aren't finished because they weren't getting to the right answer. Homework isn't just something to finish. It's supposed to become a study tool. And I tell my students all the time, you want to make sure every question is filled in as if it's an assignment and you're handing it into your teacher daily. If it was an assignment, you wouldn't leave anything blank or not attempted. Because at the end of the day, the homework becomes the study tool. So when you open up your child's homework notebook, take a look to see if they are check marking their answers and putting corrections next to things that went wrong so they can study it for later. So as you can see here, in the image, the question was attempted, corrections were made, and notes were made on potentially what to fix. So that way when studying comes around, they're super alert and prepared for the test. So I really want to emphasize the idea that corrected homework equals test prep. Okay, let's look at sign 4. Their homework has no clear process. I always tell my students that you want to practice the same way you want to execute on the test. The same way an athlete will walk into practice and drill things out, giving 100% effort, because that's what they expect to do on game day. We have to do the same in math. Plus, one of the things students don't tend to realize is by showing your process, you're actually allowing your brain to digest and understand at a higher level and make sure that you're ready for the test and grab all those part marks should your final answer be wrong. And sometimes parents look at the page and it's quite messy and think, well, something's happening here, and that's fair. But in math, messy work often leads to messy thinking. If the steps are skipped, the layout is all over the place, the graph isn't labeled or scaled with a ruler, or the work looks like it survived a windstorm, that will translate to what they do on the test. So let's look at one page of homework and ask this. Can I actually follow their work? Can I see their steps? Can I tell what they're thinking? Even if you don't understand math, that's okay, because a strong sign is organized steps that they can actually study from later. A warning sign, the answer just seems to be somewhere, but the thinking isn't clear. I actually wanted to give you a sample piece of homework to look at. So here I have homework from 2 students in my grade 10 class, one working at level 4 and the other one working at level 1. Just by seeing what's on the paper and not having to understand the math at all, you can see which one is sitting at level 1 and which one is sitting at level 4. So I really would like to emphasize again that messy work will cost marks and they practice how they perform. Okay, let's move into the last sign, sign number 5. They don't have the time or the stamina for math. Math usually doesn't work well if you're trying to squeeze it into a 10-minute block while scrolling and munching on a snack and getting stuff for soccer ready. It takes time to get into the work. It takes time to make the mistakes. It takes time to fix them. And it takes time to build confidence. And in this day and age, our family lives feel like a massive rat race, and not many of our teens have that time set up each evening to actually sit down and do the work. So let's check this. From Monday to Friday and on the weekends, can they dedicate 1 hour to doing their math homework on average? A warning sign is that their work is rushed. They have fragmented pieces put together. They're avoiding it or mentally done before they've even started. This points more to the third layer because performance will elevate if we allow for consistency and dedicated time to our study. And that really matters for grade 12 because by grade 12, math gets less forgiving and students need the stamina to keep up and get those grades that they deserve. Unfortunately, that doesn't appear overnight. I like to tell my students that grade 9 and 10 are like our training years. We're trying to close math gaps from middle school and build up to high school level math with all the habits and stamina that we need. By grade 11, you're in a proving mode. So you're trying to adapt to a much higher level of math with the ability to time manage because your schedule has usually a lot more going on versus grade 9 and 10 courses. And so that way, once you hit grade 12, it's not so much a jump in curriculum, but rather an ability to do what you did in grade 11 and apply yourself under a more pressure-filled year. So let's zoom out for a second. If your team can't explain examples or they get stuck right away, the issue might be more around their understanding the content piece. If homework is messy or mistakes are never getting corrected, then they're sitting in layer 2 where they're stuck with the practice piece. And if there's no real time or stamina or consistency, this is going to have layer 3, the practice test layer, break down. And that's why I like looking through my 5-step check through this 3-layer system. Because the problem isn't about your child being bad at math. A lot of the time, it's they don't actually just have the tools to learn it properly. And those are fixable problems. Now, if your child is stuck in any one of those 3 layers, please don't panic. This isn't about labeling them. This is not about shaming them. It took me 5 years of high school math to figure out how to get a 90. And I'm a math major now. And so I really want to move away from this idea that there's such a thing as math people. It's about catching weak habits and fixing them early on. So download the checklist below and use it with your team to see what shows up. It'll definitely drive a great conversation between the two of you. And it's much better to catch these habits now than to wait until grade 12 and everything starts to crumble. And inside the PDF, I'll show you what to do if the checklist raises some concerns. If this video was helpful, let me know in the comments and which of these 5 steps stood out to you the most. I hope to see you in the next video.